Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we'll be discussing the last two sub-points of the Unit 1, 1.4 and 1.5 of the subject Human Growth and Development. Initial three sub-points are divided into two parts, part 1 and part 2. The link to the video is in the description box below. You can check it out. So without any further delay, let's get started. So the 1.4, Nature versus Nurture. The nature and nurture are terms as heredity and environment. Nature means the heredity, it means the genes, and nurture means the environment. So the nature and nurture debate is about whether a person's behavior, intelligence, personality, and development are mostly shaped by nature, that means the genetics, or the environment, that means the nurturing. So the two views are prevailing among the psychologists. Some argues that a person's heredity decides his growth and development, where others argue that it is the environment which decides the individual pattern of growth and development. So alright, we'll first see both nature and nurture meaning with some example, and then definitions which need to be memorized for examination, and then its differences. So let's first see the meaning. So let's see what is nature, that is referring here in human growth and development context. Heredity, that means the nature, is the process by which the characteristics of an individual are basically determined by genes received from their parents. In another word, nature refers to the biological traits, that means the biological characteristics that receive from the parents. For example, a child's eye color or hair type is decided by their genes. Some children are naturally more active or quiet due to their inherited temperament. One more example we can see is the height potential, which is mostly influenced by their heredity. Alright, all these parts of nature, meaning they come from within and are passed through their genes. Alright, let's see the next. What is nurture? That means the environment, meaning of environment. The process by which characteristics of an individual are determined by his or her surrounding and circumstances is the environment. In simple words, nurture means everything around a person that can affect how they grow and learn, like their family, house, school, community, and even the kind of experiences they go through or they have. So it is the process where a person's behavior, habits, and abilities are shaped by their surroundings, not what they are born with, but what they learn from the world around them. So now let's see example to understand nurture. So example, let's see there are two kids. One child growing up in a house where people read books every day. They talk a lot and encourages learning. And whereas another child growing up in a place where there is no one who reads book to them, and they don't get much chance to explore or learn any new things. Even if both kids were born with the same abilities, that means with the same genes, the first child may learn to speak faster and develop better thinking skills because of their environment. So that's how nurture works. That's the environment. So now let's see the definitions. Nature, that means the heredity or the genetics. Woodworth defines heredity covers all the factors that are present in the individuals when he begins life, not at birth, but at the time of conception, about 9 months before birth. In simple words, heredity or the nature means, in this definition, the traits and qualities a person get from their parents starting from the moment they are conceived, not just from birth. Here the definition says that the environment is everything that affects the individual except his genes. And one more definition is that says environment covers all the outside factors that have acted on the individual since he began his life. So if we understand in simple layman term by combining the both definition for nurture, it means that environment means everything around a person that affects how they are grow and behave, like the people, the places, the experiments, the experiences, everything except what they are born with. That means except the genes, everything matters that comes under environment. All right, the next is difference between nature and nurture. So let's see the differences between these two so that we can understand more in detail. The nature, that means the heredity, that means it has inborn trait. That means these are the qualities we get from our parents through genes, like how we look or certain talents we get from our parents. Then whereas nurture is acquired traits, that means acquired characteristics of the person. That means these are the things we pick up from people or places around us, not from our genes. The next differences is nature, that means there is a present from the time of conception. That means these are the traits in a person that are decided the moment we are created in the womb, not after we are born. Whereas in the nurture, the traits are begins after birth and continues through life. That means we keep learning and changing through life based on what happens to us. The next difference is number 3. It includes physical features like height, eye color, and natural abilities. That means things like how tall we are, our skin, our eye color, our natural talents like musical or any athletic abilities. So these all are the examples. Whereas in next, it includes behavior, habits, languages, and values. That means the languages we speak, the way we act, our habits and beliefs all comes from our environment. The next is nature, controlled by biological or genetic factors. That means these are the traits comes from our body's biological design. We do not choose them. And then in the nurture, these traits are shaped by families, culture, education, and society. That means how we grow up, the people, the school, and the society around us shapes how we think and behave. The last differences is the first one, it cannot be changed by environment. It means the traits we get from our genes, no matter where we live or how we are raised, these inborn features mostly stay the same. And in the next part, nurture can be changed. The traits that are we receive from the environment can be changed or improved over time. That means with the right support and learning, we can always grow, change the habits, or learn new skills. So these all are the differences of nature versus nurture. Now let's go to the next subpoint, the domains of growth and development. These are the domains where we see growth and development. In the last video, part 2, we saw the stages of growth and development, but this is the major areas of development. First, the physical domain. Physical domain means how a child's body grows and changes from birth to adulthood. It includes height and weight gain, that means from being a tiny baby to becoming a tall adult. Next is body shape changes like longer legs during childhood. And next is internal growth like the heart, lungs, and brain development. Also muscles and bone growth we can see in physical domain. That means gaining strength to walk, run, or even to play. And the last we can see is the coordination and movement. That means learning to sit, walk, jump, and hold things. So this all 5 are the major changes we can see in the physical development. For example, a child who could only crawl as a baby learns to walk, then run, and eventually ride a cycle as their muscles and balance improve. So this growth happens in stages and is different for every child, but follows a general pattern of growth and development. The next domain is the sensory perceptual development. This area of development is about how babies and children use their senses, means the seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, and tasting to sense the world around them. And perception is putting all the information together, means how the brain understand and responds to those senses. So it's like the child information gathering system, like using eyes, nose, ears, tongues, and skin to explore and eventually learn. The next one is the most important domain, one of the most important is the cognition. The cognition domain of development refers to how we think, learn, and solve problems throughout our life. Like a child thinks, learn, solve problems, remember things, and understand the world around them. In simpler terms, it's all about how our brain grows and changes, from how we start with simple reflexes to becoming skilled at reasoning, planning, and understanding the world. Okay, let's understand in more detail with an example of initial important phase of life in cognition development, the infancy, 0 to 2 years of age. Here the babies explore the world by touching, looking, and putting things in their mouth through their senses. For example, a baby shakes a rattle and learns that it makes a sound. That's how they learn early, problem solving skills, part of cognitive development. The next stage of life is the toddlerhood, 2 to 4 years. Here they begins using symbols and language. For example, a child sees a picture of an apple and says apple. They are connecting symbols with real objects. It's another example of cognitive development. The next phase of life you can see is in the early childhood phase, 4 to 7 years of age. Here the child can think but not yet logically. They may believe that toys are alive and that the moon follows them. So it's they can think but still it's not logical. For example, a baby cries if the sandwich is cut into two pieces, even if they get the both pieces, but they may be thinking that they got less food because it's been cut and it looks small. Okay, the next stage is the middle childhood, 7 to 11 years. Here cognitive development we can see is they begin to use logical thinking for concrete things like counting or sorting. So this is the cognitive changes we can see in this age. For example, if you see a child in this picture, they grow up, they can group the toys by colors or size and understand the rules of the games. And the next stage we can see is the adolescence, that means 11 plus years. Here the child can now think more abstract ideas like what is fairness in games or in life, the future goals and all. For example, they start asking questions like what will be I will be when I grow up, or why are some rules are so unfair. Such kind of questioning things they will start thinking. So this all are the cognitive development we can see in all the life's phases. There is one popular stages of cognitive development given by Jean Piaget. He talks about 4 stages, which are sensory motor stage. Here he says that the cognitive development predominantly is developed because of the senses, because the child use their sensory and the motor. And the next stage he says the pre-operational stage. In the next stage of cognitive development he says the concrete operational stage, and the last one is a formal operational stage. We will be discussing this in detail in the next video. So we'll see the next domain. The next domain is social-emotional. There are 2 main areas here, the emotional and the social skills development. These are the five main area where they learn in social emotional development. They understand and they manage their emotions. The first, they understand what are different emotions, and then they understand about it, and then they learn to manage their emotions. They also learn to form healthy relationships. Next is they also learn to show empathy over time, and they make responsible choices and build a sense of identity and self-confidence. They understand about their own identity, like the self-concept. They understand about who they are, what are their personality and all those things, and they also develop self-confidence. So this all comes under the social emotional domain. For example, a baby learns to feel safe with a caregiver's hug, while an child who is older learns to share, make friends, and handle frustrations. So, this both combine the social emotional domains. And the next domain we can see is the language and communication domain. This domain focuses on how children understand, they express and use language to communicate with others, both verbal and non-verbal. Verbal means the spoken and written words. Non-verbal means the gestures, facial expressions. The key components we can see in the domains are the receptive language, that means understanding, where they can ability to listen, understand words, sentences and instructions. The next key component is the expressive language, that means here using gestures, sounds, words, or eventually using sentence to speak and to express, that means as expressive language. The next component is the non-verbal communication, where they use gestures, facial expression, eye contact, and body language uh, to communicate. The next one is the pragmatic, that means social use of language, how we use the language in social context. It's a pragmatic skills, that means knowing when to speak, when to take turn, and staying on the topic, and when to end. So now let's understand in more detail through the life's initial phases that are important. When the child is in between 0 to 12 months, the development we can observe are the baby starts listening to sounds and then babbling, knowing and then knowing their names, and they start waving, all those things we can see in this age group. Next is 1 to 2 years. A child says simple words like they in two words or one word, and they also start following easy instructions, like instruction following thing. The next phase, 2 to 3 years of age, the child start talks in short phrases, and even ask questions, simple questioning things, simple phrases like in simple short sentences. The next age group is 3 to 4 years of age. Here we can see the child starts speaking in full sentence and also take turns in talking. The way they take the turn, they initiate, all those things happen in these age groups. And the next is 4 to 5 years of age. Now the child start to tell stories and understand longer instructions. So this is the stages and the progressions we can see in language and communication domain. So let's do a quick summary what we have discussed in this video. First we saw the nature and nurture meaning, like definitions and the differences. Have a quick review here. Nature means the characteristics or the traits a child is born with, like the genetic makeup, physical features like the eye, the color, the height, the natural talents. So this is the nature. Nurture is the everything a child learns from their surrounding, like from their family, their schools, from their career, from their experiences, all those things. So it's all about the surroundings. It's a nurture. Next we see is the domains, that means a child grows in different areas, that means the domains. We discussed these major areas in which children grow. The first one was the physical development, growth of the body, movement, coordination and strength. The next was the cognitive development domain, how a child thinks, learn, solve problems and remember things. This all covers under cognitive development. The next domain was the language and communication domain, how a child understands and uses words, gestures, and sentences to express themselves. The next domain was the social emotional development, how a child understands feeling, makes friends, shares, and then shows empathy. All those things covers into social emotional domain. And the one more was there, sensory perceptual domain. That means developing and refining the senses like sign, the hearing, the touching, and the learning how to interpret the sensory informations. So that's all for today. I will be coming up with next unit, theoretical perspectives of growth and development. Thank you so much for watching. Till then, take care.